Hello and welcome to episode 107 of the Boot Nerds podcast. JayMike, what's going on?
Oh, things are pretty good over here in Denmark, my man. Today is a good day. Today is Wednesday that we're recording this. Obviously, it goes up on Thursday. But I have had some brilliant news in the past, let's say, 24 hours. We're going to talk about that in a little bit because it's all down to the Super League and Ed Woodward from Manchester United leaving his position as CEO. So yeah, I'm not too bad, my man. How about you? You told
doing
me it's,
okay.
It's snowing again.
A tremendous amount of drama in the football world over the last couple of days. Yeah. It's been unreal, and I think we were going to do a podcast on the very first day, but we decided we should wait and let the situation kind of work itself out. And I think it's for the best that we did. Because things have changed a lot in the last 48 hours.
Things have changed quite a lot. And we're going to go back and address the whole Super League situation and, the lack of anything at the moment in a little bit. But first, we're going to discuss the new Superspectral pack from Adidas, Josh. But I think you've got something to say first.
I do. There was another big announcement. We're recording this on Wednesday. They're coming out today. Hopefully, by the time this episode goes up, they are still going to be available. But Pure Socks Classic are now a thing, which are available for just $6.99 a pair, significantly less expensive than the two other options within the Pure brand right now. No grips. Cotton construction, super comfortable, very high quality. And for $6.99, I think it's just a tremendous amount of value if you need a pair of training socks or running socks or even a socks to wear casually. This is something that I've been really excited about because, Pure is my own brand. I've been wearing them casually a lot. And I think no grips lends itself better for that. But I've also come to realize that not everybody wants to play in grip socks when wearing football boots. And not all football boots, I think, need grip socks necessarily. So this was kind of like, the idea behind it was to do a really high quality variant of kind of like a basics collection, something that everybody needs regardless of whether or not you want grip socks. That's also extremely affordable. And at $6.99 in either black or white, limited quantities for the time being. They're available now at puregripsocks.com. Go check them out. Go get a pair before they're gone. And for those that will ask, more colors are likely coming soon. So stay tuned for that.
You're being pretty crafty these days, I would say. That's the second week in a row you're dropping new stuff, right?
Yeah, look, this is something we've been working on, I want to say, for the last 4 months or so to get the blends right and the elasticated materials right. It's a trickier thing making a sock than I think a lot of people realize. So it just so happens that everything ended up kind of coming together right around the same time. There's more new stuff coming soon. I'm very excited about it. So stay tuned. And if you're not following Pure Grip Socks on Instagram, it's at Pure Grip Socks. That's definitely something you might want to check out if you want to stay up to date with the latest products and you don't want to miss out on new drops like this.
Let's hear some thoughts in the comment section right down below. And with those words, something that we're also pretty excited about is the brand new Superspectral pack from Adidas. It's bright, it's bold. Brand new pack for the Euros from Adidas, actually. Also meaning that we did a little bit of a cheeky title on the Unisport video. We said that these boots were for non-Super League players only because you can't play in the Euros and in the Super League. A little bit a little bit cheeky, but nonetheless, very. It's out there. The new pack. What do you say? Looking at the video and the images.
The X is super cool. That's definitely my favorite of the pack. It's the standout for sure. And the orange to pink fade just works so well. Again, it's one of those colorways that I think really shows off the technicality of that boot's construction. And they did a great job. That to me is arguably the best of the regular colorways they've done of X.
I would be inclined to agree, actually. When I saw it the first time, and I was like, pink X, that's going to be a little bit garish, right? But getting it in hand, it completely works. As you say, that transition from pink to orange in the heel, like the gradient, how it interacts with light and all that stuff, and how it works with pink on the vamp, the forefoot that transitions into orange on the heel. it looks so good. And as you say, all the elements and the semi-translucency, all that stuff, it just works. And I think a color like this just goes well with something really minimalistic and sleek. Had there been too much going on, it probably wouldn't have worked. But I think it's so strong, and I think it's either this or the launch colorway, the white gold one for me. That would be the best. But it's very, very strong, really powerful.
Yeah, and for the Euro, I think that makes a lot of sense. Pink boots tend to do really well. Pink speed boots tend to do even better. So for me, I think that's a really good move by Adi there.
Oh, I agree. They also made some, should we say, call them pink and black and purple Preds, which might sound also like not the best idea when you hear it on paper, but I gotta say, I'm almost tempted to say that these might be the most popping colorway in the pack, despite having pink X's, because that whole fade from the bottom of the boot to the black top, and combined with the stripes, the blocking on this is absolutely amazing. It just, when you see it on feet, especially wearing black socks, it's just, the way it flows into the bottom of the leg, really, really powerful. And the whole, it just looks, it looks dangerous, but in a very cool and classy way, which is impressive given how wild these are. I mean, pink and black and purple spikes, that's out there.
Yeah, look, this is one of those colorways that when I first saw it, I was like, it's kind of underwhelming. But then when you look at some of the more detailed pictures up close, I think this is one of those boots that's going to be much more impactful in person when you can see all of those extra details. And I think the colors always end up being a little more vibrant in person as well. And again, similar to the X, I think this colorway does a really good job of showing off the design and technicality of the Predator Freak and all the different elements that are going on. The fade from the bottom, super cool. Kind of reminiscent of the Love to Win, Hate to Lose CR7 Mercurial Vapors with the pink from the bottom fading into black. A little reminiscent of that. Definitely not a copy though. But just super cool. And again, I think some of the best Predator colorways, when we're talking about Predators that have spikes all over them, it's the ones that tend to have this kind of organic look to them that end up looking the best. And this has that for me.
I agree. And it was the same thing for the Wolverine boots. Basically, yes, the colors were crazy, but I actually happen to have it here. The way the whole blocking of the boot just makes sense for the overall shape, for the graphical elements that have to be there. It's just, I think it's really nice. And just imagine this, just like we talked about with the Wolverines. Imagine this with, white demon skin rubber spikes and, red instead of the pink and purple. Just imagine.
Yeah.
Someone on Instagram should totally do a mock-up of this with this pattern with the red. That would be absolutely amazing. So cool, but could have had the potential to be even wilder. But still super, super strong.
Really like them.
Copa, let's save the Nemesis for last. Copa, I've had these for a while, this pack, and when I saw the Copa for the first time next to the launch colorway, I immediately just picked this up. I think it's, there's just something about a white leather boot with you and the whole pink elements thing, and it just goes really well together. And the fact that the Copa sense itself looks so clean really makes the colors pop more. The stripes on the back, it becomes more powerful somehow, and I think it really manages to make something very simple look really, really impactful. I think it's really classy.
Yeah, look, I love the design of the new Copa Sense, especially the laceless model. I think it just has a sleekness to it that a lot of football boots don't have these days. And look, white and black with the pink accent, it's a proven color combo.
Always works, yeah.
It looks cool. And the decision to go with the black prime knit kind of peeking through across the top of the foot through the laceless system, it has a cool look to it.
I agree, yeah. Sure, will it split opinion? It probably will, because, it kind of goes against the direction of a Copa to have pink accents on, but I think it's been done tastefully. So it's not too much, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, let's be real. The Copa is no longer, the name does not represent what it used to.
True. That's how it goes. Yeah, I mean, do you remember those Copa Mundials we had back in, was it 2014?
The Samba pack.
The Samba pack, yeah. I think they kind of, they pissed off the traditionalists so much that I think this is still pretty safe territory. We're not out there yet. Not yet, at least. We also have the last Nemesis in a main Adidas pack for the time being, at least. And I reckon this is one of the better looking Nemesis Pluses we have had. Nemesis 19 Pluses and Nemesis Pluses. I think it's really strong. Gives me like proper Nemesis 17 Plus vibes, and I like it. I really, really like it, actually.
I think the cool aspect of this particular colorway is that it implements the new texture pattern in orange as an accent on the upper, but then they gave you the striping within the actual material the boot's made out of too, and it kind of just ends up looking like an optical illusion. Like the boots look like they're out of focus, which I think is kind of a cool thing. They're slightly blurry, right?
Like when you do this, yeah. It makes sense. I never thought about it that way, but you're right. It, instead of giving it that kind of Aurora-like look that we saw on the black, white, and yellow, greenish ones, and those terrible purple ones, I think this blends a little bit better and makes it look more organic and like light streaks or something like that. It's really powerful.
Yeah, I still don't like how the mid-cut plus model looks. It's a weird looking football boot in my opinion. But overall, definitely, I would say this is the best colorway for Nemesis Plus.
That black and white split in the middle was also. I know you don't like it, but
I'd pick these.
I think if I have to choose, I would probably also go with these. As for the Nemesis 19 Plus, I would probably go and say that those blue golds they dropped they're up there. But these are pretty powerful. Which is your favorite in the pack, Josh?
Visually, I'd have to say the X. It's so cool to me. I really like that one.
I would probably agree. I think the Pred is in with a shout to be the best looking, but the X is just so out there in a very, very cool and like almost it's very appealing. It's like it's crazy, but you can't call this stylish, but you know what I mean. It's like very it draws you in.
Yeah, look, it reminds me of
almost lures you in, right?
I think I'm famous on the Boot Nerds podcast for making very weird comparisons, and there's two things that this boot reminds me of.
You said that, not me.
You ever seen Sherbet? Do you guys have Sherbet ice cream there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like two sherbet colors. Like if you normally have the pink, the orange, and like I think like green, it's two of those colors. That's what it really reminds me of. And then the other thing it reminds me of, and this is a weird one because I don't even eat this stuff, but like really fancy looking sushi, I feel like would have similar colors to this.
Okay, so like so basically
it's like some
tuna.
raw fish and
so tuna.
Yeah,
salmon and tuna.
It's just, I don't know. They did a good job. It's very cool. Really.
Okay. I mean, the whole sherbet thing, is that the English word? We call it sorbet.
Sorbet. We'd call it that here too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it kind of looks like Italian gelato to me, which might be the same thing, actually. Anyway, this is not the Ice Cream Nerds podcast, but yeah, for me, it kind of gives me. Do you remember the Spectral mode pack that they did a couple of years ago with like pastel pink Pred and raw white X, and the Nemesis was this baby blue?
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of what would happen if you took that Spectral mode Predator and kind of just amped up the saturation like to 200. And so basically, this is the super spectral Pred. Pun intended.
Yeah, actually, that was pretty accurate.
The worst dad joke ever. I'm sorry. Don't blame me. Blame the child. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Anyways, Josh, as we talked about earlier, these boots are for non Super League players only because they're for the Euros. But the Super League, I mean, what a turn of events. That escalated quickly. Going from, we talked about this on Monday and was like, we should totally talk Super League on the podcast. And I was like, I was rolling out the big guns. like, this is ruining football. Man United, I don't know if I can be a fan anymore, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, I'm just chilling on the couch yesterday and things just start to kick off. It's going off outside of the Stamford Bridge and, City are withdrawing. Chelsea withdrew first. City are withdrawing. I'm like, when City are pulling out, like Manchester City, I'm not going to call them a plastic club. That would not be tasteful. But after all, they are funded by the sheiks, right? Mm-hmm. When they're pulling out, something is very, very wrong. Like they're resisting money. And I was like, okay, wow, this is everyone's going to pull out, at least the British clubs. And so they did. And also, Man United CEO Ed Woodward stepped down. Some rumors say he already planned to step down at the end of the year, but he has stepped down. So it's been a crazy 24 hours. The good thing is that the football community, football fans, has actually showed that we have a voice. Especially those people who protested, the players, the managers who spoke up and big up to those people. What's he called? Jordan Henderson, James Milner, Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Jurgen Klopp. Can't believe I'm praising more Liverpool players than Man United. But really, these guys who went out publicly going against the official club line saying, look, we don't want this to happen. We haven't been involved in any decision. Big up to those people. And it actually shows that while modern football has taken over, the classic, the classic virtues of what football really should be, they haven't completely gone. What are your thoughts?
This was not on my radar at all, and I'm not sure if there were rumors about this over the last little while, but I was very surprised to learn that players and coaches had no idea of this move for the clubs they play at or work for. That was pretty surprising to me. I was also slightly surprised at how much backlash there was from fans. Because I think...
Really?
I was a little bit. Because Jay, if FIFA didn't come out and say, hey, if you participate in this new Super League, you're not going to be able to play in the Euro, you're not going to be able to play in the World Cup, you're going to be kicked out of the Champions League. If they were totally fine with this Super League existing, do you think the backlash from the fans would have been as extreme as it was? I think it was that threat of being banned from these tournaments and leagues that have been around for so long that made the fans more unhappy than anything. But maybe I'm wrong on that.
But I think that was actually, and it was good that UEFA and the Premier League and Serie A, La Liga came out and said these things. And the FIFA also made things very clear. The British government, Boris Johnson, came out. We're not going to mix politics into this, but he just said he's going to drop a legislative bomb on these guys. And I think that the fact that the clubs were going to be kicked out of the tournaments, that's like their bread and butter, which is where the fans have grown accustomed to. That's like the pride, playing in the Premier League, winning the Premier League, finishing well in the Premier League, right? I think that really pushed a lot of fans over the edge from being unhappy to being to actually losing it, to really doing something about it. Look, I look at the whole Super League thing like this. Because I put up on Instagram that I've been a Manchester United fan for 24 years and I've never felt as disconnected to the club and as disappointed with the club as I have, that was on Monday, as I did on Monday. With that said, I think, crying wolf now or being completely outraged now over the Super League is also a little bit hypocritical. Because it's been like that for a long, long time. The Premier League was an outbreak of the best teams in the old First Division, right? The Champions League is a very commercial thing. And obviously, yes, there's the fact that you still have to qualify. You still have to earn it, the right to be in those competitions. But still, football is going more and more towards, making more money. and becoming this financial behemoth where the rich gets. Wow, that's hard to say in English. The rich gets richer. The rich get richer. Yep. And the poor, they don't get all the money. You know what don't make me say that again. But that's the thing. I really don't like the idea of the Super League where you don't play there on merit, but you're just in because, you're all buddy with all the other so-called top clubs. But I still think that this isn't anything new. It's just the extra 2, 3, 4 levels of ridiculous greed on top of what's already out there that I didn't expect. That was the tipping point for me.
Yeah, look, the way I see this is a problem that owners have created for themselves. And this is not just in football. I think this is across all sports at this point where the objective is to win. And in football, I think more than almost any other sport, because of how transfers and all of that works, is spend more money, have a better team. It's not the guaranteed way of winning, but it certainly ups your chances. And I hate to bring up the Neymar thing, but his transfer from Barcelona to PSG, that opens the floodgates for money at this point. Now it's like there is no limit to what these clubs are willing to spend. And that's just something that's going to be very, very difficult to reel back in. Because look, every club with any kind of player that they're looking to sell, they're going to be wanting record-breaking amounts of money. And it wasn't that long ago that Messi's salary was leaked at Barcelona and how much they were paying him. Just a ridiculous amount of money. I understand that the owners are taking a loss because of how much money they're paying these players, especially losing out over the last year and a half on ticket sales. Because no one can come to the matches anymore. They've lost a ton of revenue that way. So I understand their pursuit of trying to make more money with the Super League thing, but it's also kind of their fault as to why they're in these financially not so great situations to begin with. And look, do I have sympathy for somebody that owns a club like Real Madrid? No. I mean, clearly you're doing quite well if you can afford to own something like that. But I don't know. It's a problem that they've created for themselves. And I don't know. I understand the commercial appeal of something like the Super League. And I think they're really trying, because there are some American owners that were part of this group.
See, this is the thing. This is what I was going to go into. And sorry for interrupting you, but you said the magic word here. You said American owners. And I'm not going to take a swipe at Americans in terms of football or soccer, whatever you want to call it. But as I see it, there's a difference between having American owners who might be thinking a lot in franchises and who might have, another view of owning a sports team. We have the Glazers at Manchester United who also own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who won the Super Bowl. But the thing is that having an American football team, club, whatever you want to call it, and an English football club, are two very, very different things. And the whole culture around football in Europe, in England, in Italy, in Spain, revolving around the fans, around the people, how it was built, the foundations of the club. I think that's something that the American owners in this instance they've shown that they clearly don't understand it. Are they supposed to understand it? Are they expected to understand? I don't know this. But I'm just looking at what I call properly run clubs, such as Bayern München. Where the clubs are owned by the fans. Also, to some extent, FC Barcelona. Okay, they join, but they probably won't join because of all the socials saying no, they can't join. I think this is one of the things that escalated the situation with modern football, turning it into what it is today. And the signs were there when the Glazers took over Manchester United that this was going to be commercialized to the point where it was going to do something to football, i.e. the Super League, where people would simply have enough. So I don't know how to fix it. I wish that all the owners who are only in it for capital gain would just go away. Don't buy a football club. Of course, do they care what I think? Absolutely not. But you know, it was a bit of a rant about American owners or owners who don't understand what it means to run a football club and being dependent on fans. What's your view on it?
Yeah, look, I think at this point, a lot of sports franchises, be it English football, American football, whatever it may be.
I can't stand calling a football club a franchise. I know it's nothing against you.
But that's like, what it's viewed as in the U.S. market. And look, the U.S. market, maybe not for English football, is the biggest thing in the world. Obviously, they have the MLS, but look at how the MLS runs. And American professional sports in general, it's a Super League format where here are the X number of teams that are in the league, and those teams always stay in the league. But they don't have this transfer system where clubs are exchanging huge amounts of money for assets, which in this case would be players, right? So what I've never loved about American professional sports, I watch a lot of NHL hockey. I hate this idea of, okay, we don't have a lot of good players this year, so we are just going to intentionally be garbage the entire season, because the lower we finish, if we're dead last, that gives us a better chance at getting a higher draft pick the next year and potentially getting a really good player. And that's how all the American sports work. The NFL, the NBA, it's beneficial to lose if you're unable to win. And I think that's the beauty of European football is if you suck, if you finish in that bottom three, you're going down. Like there's incentive to go back up.
Do you think Arsenal have kind of, they're going for that approach?
They might be. At this point, you never know, right? So that's
they might be first in the draft picks.
Yeah. So look,
sorry, Arsenal fans, but it's too easy, low hanging fruit and all that.
Yeah, and that's where I think a lot of the European football fans really took issue with this whole Super League thing. Is it's like you have a guaranteed spot in this league and you're not going to get kicked out, and like what's the point? Is there any prestige to anything like that anymore? If there's really losing means ultimately nothing.
But that's the thing, right? Prestige just matters in European football. Like it is, rivalry, prestige, the feeling of togetherness that you get from facing an adversary, facing a rival, facing other people. Merit, earning the right to play, dreams as what a lot of these players spoke about, both before and after all the cancellation notices came in. I think it's just it's a cultural thing, and it's a matter of understanding why the fans are upset, why the players are upset, why the managers were upset. Pep Guardiola threw his owners under the bus at his press conference. But I think, that just shows balls, and it just shows that enough is enough. And fair play to Arsenal. They came out and said, look, we made a mistake. We apologize. We listened to you. Cool. We won't do it. All good. So yeah, I'm really glad, like with that said, I'm really glad that I want to say that there's been an understanding from these so-called top six English clubs that they screwed up, and now they're kind of trying to come back in the fold. But let's not just act like everything is all happy again, because it's not. I mean, they did it, they messed up. Hopefully a lot of the people responsible are going to go, or the clubs are going to get sold and all that jazz, but I don't think we should just let them off the hook. There should be some sort of consequence. And I hate to say it about my own club. I love Manchester United to death, but I don't love the owners to death. So yeah, I wonder what the backslash is going to be.
But here's the thing, Jay. Like, do you punish the team? Do you punish the players? Or do you punish the owners? Because if you punish the team, now are you not just punishing the fans?
You're right. But how do you get to the owners? The only way to get to the owners is hit them where it hurts, and that's their wallet. And is that going to also affect the club, as in the people working there, the managers, the players, all the staff, and the fans? Yes, it probably will. But I think that if you just speaking as a United fan, I think if you told me that by taking 5 years of absolute garbage, but getting rid of the Glazers, I'd probably take it. because we would get our club back. Hopefully, unless some other douchebag came and bought it. But you know what I mean. I think more fans would want to do that than you'd probably realize. But it's just a guess.
Look, I think this was ultimately about ownership wanting complete control of not just their clubs, but also how much revenue they can bring in. Because if it's their own league and there's not these governing bodies that I think it's been pretty clear for a very long time that UEFA and FIFA,
they're not doing a good job.
There's not been a great relationship between them and the clubs. And I'm sure ownership does not like these guys. And I think that's what this whole Super League thing was really about in the first place, is saying, hey, we can do this on our own. We don't need them. Again, I don't think that they obviously did not anticipate the backlash from the fans. But again, I don't know what the backlash from the fans would have been like had UEFA just said, hey, you know what? Go do it. We don't care. It's not affecting anything. I think that changes things a lot. And then look, I'm not for this Super League thing in any way at all, but I feel like the need to play devil's advocate a little bit here. Is it not slightly hypocritical from a fan's perspective, especially when you're talking about these big clubs, especially somebody like Manchester United, where the fans, how long have they been screaming to buy X player for how many millions of dollars? Like, you want ownership that can afford to do those types of things in an attempt at winning and being competitive, but then you also get upset at the owners trying to bring in more revenue to buy said players, right? It's a losing battle on both sides in terms of who's right and who's wrong.
Absolutely, man. But I'm just pointing to Bayern München. Bayern Munich in English. They run well. They go about their business without any fuss every summer. They're extremely successful, and they're just doing it right. They're just a really good example of a top club that's run properly. And you're right, it's completely hypocritical. And a lot of this stuff, getting angry about the Super League is to a certain extent hypocritical, because the whole financial greed aspect has been roaring its ugly face in football for like many, many, many years now. 15 years, 16 years. So you're right. But thankfully, it appears to be over. Hopefully, we won't get into a situation like that again in the near future. The cynic in me says that we will eventually, but hopefully the fans will be equally strong. And screw the Super League. Say no.
Yeah, it's a system that needs fixing, and I'm wondering. Again, this is very much like an American professional sports thing, but I'm wondering, like, even from the players' perspective, I think it was great to see players come out and say, hey, we're not for this, we don't want this. Yeah. But then these are the same players that are also going to big clubs and demanding these ridiculously high salaries. And that's part of the appeal of going to a big club. So I'm wondering if something like a salary cap needs to come into play. And then maybe that evens out the playing field amongst the smaller clubs as well, right? Because like you said earlier, this Super League thing happens, and these big clubs that already have way more revenue than all the smaller clubs get even more. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. The gap is so big. And I think that's where the American professional sports model is a little bit more fair, in that every club or franchise is effectively spending the same or similar amounts of money, and you can't go above it. So that's where things get a little bit tricky with trying to regulate all of this in European football, because it really is, if you have rich owners, that goes a long way in terms of how successful you are likely to be within a couple year span.
Look at the Champions League. Real Madrid, they have had a lot of money from selling assets to the government, basically. PSG, Chelsea, and Manchester City.
Yeah.
Oil money. Yeah. But that's the way it goes. We can. Also because my team is owned by a useless set of Americans who don't understand the game, and the other clubs are actually run by people who have a lot of money, but who actually understand. Manchester City. Anyway, lots to talk. Let's round up with a few questions just to ease the mood here a little bit. There's one from Mauricio Chiara. Anyways, Hey Josh, this is not a boot related question, but will you do an update on the car problems channel? It's been 6 months, my dude. What's up? Is it the snow in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, it's been winter and it's been, the Pure brand has occupied a lot of my time. It's just been one of those things where I've mainly just not had a lot of time for it. And I don't want to say that it's done, but at this point in time, at this point in my life, given all the different things that I have going on, it's not something that is a top priority for me.
No.
So,
and we can basically put it like this, Mauricio. Do you want car problems content or do you want socks? Go figure.
There's only so much time.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. And you also got to live a little, right? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. It's not all content, my man. We have one question here from Reno Uyghur. Hi, guys. In Gothenburg, in Sweden, they have banned rubber from AG pitches and now use sand. There's no traction whatsoever, and the studs wear down extremely quickly. Any suggestions for sole plates in this new kind of filling material? I thought about turf studs, but I hate that they have a thicker sole. Also, any thoughts on guarantee when boots are used on the surface start to wear down? It's technically an AG ground, but I doubt that the manufacturers had this in mind when designing their boots. So, like AG surface, but with sand as a filling, sounds really, really, really awful. And you would probably also suggest a turf boot, right? That's
that's really the only thing. If durability is a concern, that's probably going to be your best thing. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to just give brands, I guess, some time to adjust if that becomes a more widespread thing. Because I know there are issues with artificial grass fields and the rubber having, is it carcinogens? Is that what it's called? So, something that potentially causes cancer. Exactly. I've read some studies on that. So yeah, I could see that potentially being a long-term change up for artificial fields. But at the same time, I feel like that's something that we're still pretty far away from. So
agree. I think if you want to, Reno, if you want to look at something that feels a little bit like a turf outsole, you could look at the Puma Future Set MG tooling, which is it has a lot of little studs. That's probably what I would go for, if not an actual turf boot. Go for the Mondial teams; they're the best.
Yeah, I love those.
They're a bit chunky, but they're really, really good turf shoes. Lots of questions. We have one from G6. Could you guys make an episode talking about the best takedown models in history and how the whole takedown market has developed over the years? I have a feeling that back in the days, the low-end boots were better than nowadays, for example. Keep up the good work, guys. And I think that would make an interesting episode. I mean, just the fact that you would say a Mercurial Talaria from 2002 is better than a Mercurial Vapor 14 Pro is something I would very much like to discuss with you, Josh.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. But I think there are some takedown models historically that have been excellent.
I agree with you. Let's make an episode on that. That's a good one. Mark Allison, do you think that Adidas should release a leather variant of the X?
I would like to see it if it was done properly. And I think based on how the upper is broken up and how the front part of the upper attaches at the heel, I think you could potentially do something really interesting like the 2013 leather F50 Adizero in terms of the amount of leather used. It's kind of a similar angle in terms of how it's split up. But I also think that's a football boot that would require, like they couldn't just mash it up to put leather on there. It would have to be a completely redesigned upper. And I'm not sure how they would do that.
No, because this is a very, very intricate upper design with you know every bit of like support structure in this is extremely fine tuned. I spoke to the developer on this, and it's a long process. I think it would be very interesting, you know, have a super thin fusion skin upper here. You know, take a page out of the Corpus book, just shave it super thin, and it could work, but it would definitely require a lot of work, I think, and maybe Adidas would not bother just to do a limited edition. Probably I personally wouldn't, but the idea is a bit mouth-watering, I think. Leather upper on that tooling.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, but it would be very expensive, I think, for Adi to develop. And the return on investment for them versus the hype that it would even generate in the first place, I think would be relatively low. If people aren't excited about...
It might work on the Ghost of Point ones, just like it kind of worked, but that was different on the Vapor 13s with the Techcraft.
Yeah. And I don't want to see them go the Techcraft route of just slapping a thin layer of leather on the surface of the synthetic, because that doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
That's arts and crafts on a larger scale.
There's also a question here from Ick O'Telly about the top 5 boots with the worst durability. That's an episode in itself. And then Jack O'Telly wants to know if Puma are making a mistake by not having a super tight speed boot-esque fit option in their lineup. And yes, I think they are. The Puma,
you think so?
The Ultra is a great fit, but for me, with a super slim foot and, traditionally loving speed boots that just fit tight and like really snug and, like the X's or the Vapors or the Mizuno Merlinios, I would like that's one of the things that I would like the Ultra to just fit a little tighter and have just less volume in there to just give me a little bit more of that, skin tight, painted on sensation.
Yeah,
I personally like. I know you have a gigantic elephant's foot compared to mine, so it's probably a little better for you. But yeah,
I think it's interesting that they have the last for the Evo Speed SLs or any of the SL variants, and I think that's a really nice shape.
It is
for a speed boot. Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting to me why they wouldn't use that for the Ultra.
And also just make it a little bit lower. Like we talked about in the reviews, it's a little high in terms of the silhouette. Just make it a little lower.
I agree. But I also think there's something to be said about the first impression of the average consumer when it comes to trying on a new pair of football boots.
Sure. Yeah.
I think most people, if they're going in totally unbiased and they don't care about brands, they don't care about the history of certain lines of football boots, if they were to try on an X, a Mercurial, and an Ultra and simply judge them based on which one feels the most comfortable on their feet, I think most people would say the Ultra.
Absolutely.
It's not until you get into the people that would be 40 minutes into the Boot Nerds podcast, I would be like, oh, you know what? This could be a little bit slimmer and you could lower the volume of the toe box. And like most people are not going to make that. And I think with the shape they have with the Ultra right now is going to fit more people more comfortably than say a Mercurial. But at the same time, the Mercurial is the number one selling football boot and has been for a very long time. So who's right and who's wrong? I guess it's a matter of opinion.
Yes, but Nike are right. They're selling more boots. Now, but I know what you're saying. You make a good point, but I would like to see, the Puma Ultra actually taking up the last from the Ultra SL and the Evo Speed SLs. That would be very interesting. Very
I think that'd be cool.
Right. So after raving on a lot, we're sorry, guys. If you don't want to listen to all our talks about, normal football, let us know in the comments and we won't talk about that ever again, we promise. If you do like it, you can also let us know that you approve by either liking the video or telling us in the comments, which is also where you should put your questions that you would like us to answer in the next episode. Also, of course, you can go and support Josh with his pure... Now it's just not pure grip socks. It's
pure
just socks.
Pure classic socks. I know. I keep...
And grip socks. And, yeah.
It's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one. But the Pure Endeavor, you can go and support him with that. Of course, also, make sure you subscribe to the podcast by clicking the white bubble in the middle of the screen. Go and subscribe to Josh's and Unisport channels by next to our faces. And leave us a like on the video. With those words, I'll be signing off. I've been JayMike. I approve this message. Cheerio.
Later. Thanks for watching.
Train wreck of wow.